A girl in tattered, torn clothing sits in the corner of her cell as she quietly lets out gentle sobs. Her tears splatter against the floor, causing soft splashes with each one. "I didn't do it," she whispers to herself over and over, barely able to even speak the words through her trembling lips. "I didn't do it." Her innocence at this point is irrelevant, as her trial was swift and punishment decisive. Tomorrow, she would be executed. For her, this would be her last night on the material plane, and as she grapples with the reality of her impending doom, a voice enters her mind. "Child, do not fear. I hear your cries." Its voice echoes out into every crevice of her mind, as if there is no place it cannot reach. "I feel your fear. This does not have to be the end." Slowly, she lifts her eyes up from her tear-stained arms and searches the cell for any sign of who is speaking. Who are you?" "Who I am is of no importance right now. You've got not much time. I can offer you salvation. The power to free yourself and take revenge on those who would trap you here against your will." Why? Why would you help me?" "Because you are trapped, my child. The same as I. We are kindred spirits. I am offering to grant you power far beyond your imagination, to free yourself, to take revenge." Despite her fear, the girl could not help but begin to feel the smallest feeling of something she desperately craved. Hope. And in return? "And in return for me freeing you, we become friends. And in time, you can help free me, so we can both make sure no one ever makes us feel powerless again. What do you say? Do you want a friend?" Her heart was beating so loud she swore anyone in the cell over could hear it, and her breathing quickened to the point where she thought she may pass out. And yet, she felt a small, almost wicked grin begin to splay upon her lips. "I wouldn't mind the help. Get me out of here and I'll return the favor. Friend." I've noticed something funny whenever I discuss Dungeons & Dragons with people who aren't super familiar with the game. There always seems to be 4 classes they're inherently aware of: the wizard, the bard, the fighter, and the warlock. Now, I'm sure that experience doesn't translate to everyone, and let's be honest, it's most likely a coincidence. But it does hit me as odd that the warlock of all things is the one that people seem to know about. I mean, the wizard makes sense. It's the archetypical mage. Everyone knows about them. How many times have you seen Dungeons & Dragons in a movie and everyone is in costume and one of them is dressed as a wizard? Fighter is the same. It's the big dude with the sword. Even if they're in the dark on D&D in general, they've had to have seen some kind of fantasy media with that kind of archetype in it. The bard is a weird one, but I think that just stems from the large amount of haha horny bard memes that have long surpassed just D&D circles and have become just a little mainstream. But warlock just seems so niche for it to be something that so many people know about despite not playing D&D. I think the reason for that though is a lot of people see the fantasy of the warlock in a lot of literature and media and just love the idea of it. A warlock isn't a wizard who studied for years, they're not a bard who connects to magic through performance, and they're not a druid whose innate understanding and connection with nature allows them to have a magical influence over it. No, the warlock is someone who is desperate enough to call to a higher power they didn't understand in order to be able to achieve their goals. Someone who channels powers so dark, so great, that even the wizard couldn't fully comprehend it. It's the fantasy of someone who was down on their luck and got power thrown to them so that they could finally achieve their potential, and I think that fantasy inspires a lot of people who wish they could get thrown a bone of their own. Regardless of the reason, the warlock seems to stick out to people as a very enticing and desirable class to play. And you know what, I gotta agree. Warlock is one of the single most evocative and roleplay heavy classes there is, and I think that's really interesting. So let's talk about that. One of the largest reasons warlocks stand out against the crowd is the fact that they are considered a full spellcaster while using entirely separate rules for their casting in the form of a feature known as pact magic. See, in case you didn't know, a warlock is not actually a magic caster, at least not in the traditional sense of Dungeons & Dragons and their casting system, because the truth is they can't actually cast magic. Wizards cast through study, bards through artistic expression and connecting them to the weave of magic, and druids through their innate connection and understanding of nature. You know, I could go through all the classes, but they all have their own sort of connection with the weave. The point is, every spellcasting class has something that allows them to connect to the weave of magic in order to create their spells through that connection. Warlocks don't. Instead, they're essentially borrowing another impossibly powerful creature's connection to the weave so that they can create spells themselves. And how that's represented in-game is through the fact that warlocks don't get to choose what level spell slot they cast their spells at, and instead it's always cast at the maximum level you're capable of, up until 5th level. These spell slots come back on a short rest, as opposed to a long. However, they get a very limited amount of them, and even at level 20 they only get a maximum of 4 slots. Since this video is meant to hype up the Warlock, not explain it, I won't spend a ton of time on this as it's one of the slightly more confusing mechanics to explain. So I'll just try to sum it up as this. Warlocks are like the power nappers of spellcasters. While the other casters can stay awake for the full day and don't need to sleep, the longer the day goes on, the more tired they grow and the less they perform. Meanwhile, as a Warlock, you have the ability to take short little power naps and be raring to go for the next few hours. So yes, you gotta sleep more, but you're going 100% of the time when you're awake. But why do Warlocks cast differently than everyone else, you ask? Well, that's because they found the power of friendship. If by friendship you mean what is most likely a manipulative and toxic relationship with a higher power who definitely only gave you power so that you can help them achieve some goal they didn't reveal up front anyways. Now, to be totally fair, that's not necessarily what all Warlock packs are like. It's definitely a common expectation, however, because let's be honest, if there is some sort of ancient powerful creature just trying to hand out free magical powers, they're probably not doing it for no reason. But this is also the main draw of the Warlock when looking outside of the mechanics, at least as far as I've seen. The idea that there is some other being inherently tied to your power is so incredibly evocative, and it makes you feel like your character is inherently connected to the world in a much more vast way thanks to your relationship with this powerful creature. It makes you feel like your character has a connection to things that would otherwise be unavailable for a typical D&D game, and that's just exciting. The Warlock is incredible because it allows you to create a massively unique character and gives one of the best roleplay hooks there is in D&D 5th edition. Like I mentioned prior in the video, the Warlock has a unique casting mechanic that already makes them stand out among spellcasters, but trust me, that is not all the cool toys they get. Quite honestly, this class is loaded. First, there's one of the best cantrips in the game, Eldritch motherfucking Blast, that can essentially substitute for spells by being a ranged damage-dealing machine that can even keep up with the fighter in your group if you take the right invocations. Which of course leads me to Invocations, which are one of the most fun class mechanics I can think of, as they provide the unique opportunity for you to essentially pick your next class feature from a very large array of options provided to you, and it allows you to customize your Warlock as you'd like. Then there are your Mystic Arcanums, which are much higher level spells that you can only cast once per long rest, not short, so you can use your usual spell slots to nuke everything down and still hold on to your higher level ones for when the time is right. Oh, and all of this is ignoring the pact boon feature I forgot to mention, which either gives your Warlock your choice of a super cool wizard wannabe book, a weapon to summon from the fathoms of your patron's corrupted soul, or a nice little pet to keep you company on the nights you cry yourself to sleep thinking about your past trauma and how you were so naive back then as to allow yourself to get pulled into your patron's pyramid scheme, and now you have to use your eldritch powers to sell essential oils to the elven tribe known as the Karens. So yeah, Warlocks have quite a bit going for them and have no shortage of features that make them incredibly customizable. And to be honest, those features never really grow stagnant. As you level up, you either get to swap them around and upgrade them, or you can continue to gain more and more ways to customize exactly how you want your Warlock to be. Whether it's taking the pact boon weapon and then using the thirsting blade invocation to become a Warlock spellsword, or maybe you're taking Mask of Many Faces and beguiling influence as invocations to make yourself the ultimate party face. Either way, you get to be incredibly customizable with the class, even outside of the subclass you choose. And the subclasses are great too, but the real reason I find them evocative is because the Warlock subclasses, which are referred to as otherworldly patrons or just packs, inherently just by choosing them, you are choosing part of your backstory and an NPC who will be intricately involved in the narrative you're going to create. Because you've gained powers from someone else, and 9 times out of 10 that being is still around and most likely still has a part to play in your story. And that's great! Warlock is amazing because it provides a built-in story for you and your DM to both expand and work on, and even as the game goes and your character levels up, that story can influence the narrative and mechanics. Now, I know for some players they don't necessarily want an NPC with that much power over your character, and that's entirely fine. But to be 100% honest, for me and the types of games I like to run and play in, that's amazing and so fun. The Patron Warlock dynamic is one of the absolute most fun things I've ever experienced in D&D. I've DM'd for a few Warlocks, and each time their reactions and decisions involving their patrons have and continue to have incredibly interesting and amazing impacts on the story. Warlock is an amazing class because, in my eyes at least, just by picking the class, you are extending your hand to your DM and saying, hey, let's make an awesome story together. And in the end, isn't that just the heart of tabletop role-playing games? It's like the Warlock embodies the very spirit of collaborative storytelling itself by not only creating an NPC for you to work with, but by having baked-in mechanics in the form of your pact boon and invocations that can continue to evolve and change based off of how the story grows with your DM and your party. Warlock comes with a built-in vulnerability, a relationship with a powerful being that can't be ignored. So, in my mind, when you choose to be a Warlock, you are extending your hand to the whole table and asking them to be involved in your story. And in turn, you want to be involved in theirs. Truly, at the end of the day, I can't think of a better way to play D&D than to make that offer to your group and create a great story doing it. So go play at Warlock, you beautiful bastards. And don't forget to have a great day. See you next time. Thank you. Come again.